Hi, I'm Tom Stephenson, and welcome to Lecture 10B of our Intro to Construction course. And we're continuing on with the role of construction associations and certifications that we began in 10A. So we'll just continue on our march of different associations and accreditations that are potential areas for you, as I mentioned in 10A. So if you haven't seen 10A, make sure you go back and you look at 10A. So Ontario General Contractors Association. So in the ICI sector, institutional, commercial, institutional, in Ontario, OGCA really is sort of that governing body. They kind of go across the board into local and international things, but mostly provincial. And but they are widely involved in differing levels. Really good with tendering processes and pursuit by their members to try to acquire particular projects and making sure that there's fair and equitable treatment across the membership. So they really try to be a leveling field. They've been involved in the educational aspect as well. I'm not sure that they're currently as involved as they were at one point, but definitely an excellent association for companies to be involved with. They do a lot of good work. From that perspective. So advocate for members to safeguard and promote their interests. That's a particular area. In the area of procurement, collaborate with buyers of construction to establish fair procurement practices and contract language. They've been really heavily involved in that. Promote learning and training opportunities. And so these are all areas that the Ontario General Contractors Association has been involved with. Professional societies. Really, when we're looking at certain occupations, and we've talked about this before in the course when we talked about trades, so I won't get too much involved in that again, but we definitely looked at mandatory trades, mandatory compulsory trades, and voluntary regulated trades. So mandatory trades would be things like electrician, would be things like plumber and sheet metal workers. Those are mandatory compulsory trades. And trades like carpentry, brick and stone masonry, drywall, voluntary regulated trades. And they carry a certificate of qualification that's designated by the Ontario government, provincial government, but that's also qualifies for national designations as well, called the Red Seal program. But beyond that, in professions such as architecture and engineering, we have professional societies that certify its members. We also have societies that are made up that certify project managers and quantity surveyors. Although those particular ones are not necessarily mandatory, they ensure that those areas have professional designations that are widely recognized on a national level, and depending on the society, maybe on a global level as well. We have those requirements, and usually those requirements require certain education as a baseline, certain practitum parts where you've worked on or in this particular industry for a period of time, and then you've passed testing that certifies that you are able to perform this work. So it really, somebody that's carrying these designations, you know that they've jumped through a number of hoops to get there, really is what that's saying. And so I haven't got here here's the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, but there's also beyond that the architectural and the engineering professions as well. But here we've got Chartered Institute of Building, RICS, Chartered Institute of Chartered Surveyors, Canadian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, PMP, probably one of the most, definitely the most globally recognized designation for project management professionals. And then we got CET, Certified Engineering Technologist. So these are some of them. Chartered Institute of Builders, probably the most widely recognized globally for people that have established themselves as meeting their accreditation requirements. And they have different levels of of recognition within CIOB. I know when I did work way back 30 years ago in China with a professor Ding from Tongji University, the discussions were on Chartered Institute of Building and the recognition and trying to get more recognition in China at that time. So talk about a global institute, that would be it. Our bachelor degree program at George Brown College is fully accredited by the CIOB, so we went through a rigorous evaluation of our program, of our content, of our curriculum, and so student membership is free, so I would suggest that you take advantage of that. You can go to the Chartered Institute of Building website and you can become a student member of that organization. They put on a lot of different free webinars and other things for you to access. And definitely with your educational background, then it's just a matter of fulfilling their practicum requirements and testing requirements. So it's definitely a one that would be of a great opportunity for students that have completed the 4-year degree program at George Brown College. We have done very well as a college with the Chartered Institute of Builders too. We have a construction business management course that we teach in our degree program and in our construction technologist program, and we have been involved with their business management competition that they've had between the different colleges and universities. And so globally, in the last 3 years since we've been participating in it, we've won the competition twice and finished second. Maybe it was second or third once. So very proud of our people in that, and I was happy to be involved in the first competition in which we actually won as a college. So as I teach the construction business management along with Almira. So it's been a very good relationship that we've had. We beat out a number of universities from Australia to the UK to South Africa. Designations, MCIOB, FCIOB, these are designations that you could go after. And especially if you plan to work globally, you got to pick which ones you're going to go to. I think it's a bit much to try to get accredited with everything. Not that you can't, you can, but then there's also often yearly fees and other things that you have to pay into to maintain your membership. So then that can get kind of expensive. But if I was going to be doing work globally, I would definitely look at the CIOB, say, over the Gold Seal. However, if I was just going to work domestically, I might think about the Gold Seal instead of CIOB, because a lot of domestic companies don't even know what the CIOB is. So you have to kind of figure out what's the best strategy for you to go after as far as existing designations and certifications. If you're working in the area of estimating and quantity surveying, quantity surveying, you're working as a little bit different than estimating. Quantity surveyors can be managing the finances for a project, the schedule of values. They can be doing inspections to ensure that the work performed is what's actually meeting the billings requirements. They can be involved in budgeting. There can be a lot of different areas that a chartered surveyor, quantity surveyor works in. But again, this is a global recognition. So that's tying in with that. Again, fully accredited within that sector. So, and another one where membership is free. So if estimating is the area that you're thinking about, that can be an opportunity. If you want a Canadian designation, then you would be looking at PQS, Professional Quantity Surveyor, and that would come under the Canadian Institute of Quantity Surveyors. And there's also the OIQS, which is the Ontario Institute of Quantity Surveyors. So you see how they kind of relate to each other. PQS is that Professional Quantity Surveyor designation, and only people that have actually met the requirements can carry that abbreviation after their names legally. We also have CEC, which is Construction Estimator Certified, and that's again another designation, a little bit easier to get than the overall PQS, but then if you're just in that area of estimating, makes sense to follow that. And like we've been saying with regards to ethical procedures and ethical management, it is what we want to make sure that we are following in those particular areas, right? So it follows very, very similar to some of the other ones, but it's also, this is, in this case, this is looking at to what functions you perform as a PQS. So you can see that it goes much beyond just estimating, construction, evaluate construction development tenders, bids from a variety of sources, manage, administrate, coordinate all types of construction development projects, including contracts, subcontract administration, manage progress invoices, as I mentioned, strategic planning, potential opportunities for prospective owners to work with, conduct and participate in arbitration and court hearings, all of these things. So you could be, called upon as an expert witness as well. Whereas we get into the estimator side, we're getting into, what are the qualifications, what are the areas of work, acceptable education requirements for that particular area. And as I mentioned, we've been heavily involved with CIQS as a college for many, many years, so this ties into that. PMP, Project Management Professional. So going back, what I said globally, like with CIOB, Chartered Institute of Builders, PMP would be the same idea, but in project management. So just specifically project management in general, globally, PMP would be the most recognized designation, I would say, by far and away. And it's conducted by the Project Management Institute. I believe, you could correct me on this, but I believe there's over a million certified project managers globally. So it kind of gives you an idea of the impact that this organization has, from China to the UK to Germany to North America to South America. Go by continents, very, very widely involved. Now, where it is maybe a little bit different, Chartered Institute of Builders is just builders. PMP is pretty much anything that has projects, banking sector, IT projects, all of the projects come under PMP designation. So to get that designation, you have to understand project management principles, not only just for construction, but also have a good understanding of how they work and operate in other sectors. And there are some nuanced differences when you go between sectors, but it's interesting to me how the differing sectors actually kind of come together in certain ways. Like, I think a lot of the aspects of the IT sector are starting to be adopted in the actual construction sector when we talk about agile, and really that's got its foundations in the IT sector, because it's not something that you're actually building in front of you. It's very hard to tell what % complete something is when it's something that's like in programming software and that way. So they have to work in shorter bursts and have more immediate feedback than the construction sector typically. But the construction sector, because of all the changes and complexity that's been going on, we've been kind of going down that path a little bit too. So some of our traditional methods have had to evolve and change, that would be changing more towards that direction. So there are fundamental common areas, and that's why PMP makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. So if you're asking me, again, globally, if you're participating on projects, I would probably look at PMP. Or if you thought you might cross over different sectors, PMP. Gold Seal is great if you're working in Canada and it's just specifically in construction. And I would say, as far as ease at getting a designation, PMP is not easy. The exam process is very, very complex, and the questions, I think, if I gave the same kind of questions to my students, I probably have a lot of pushback on some of them, because a multiple choice question would be, well, the most correct answer. So one answer might be like 60% correct, and another answer might be 40% correct. Well, the 60% correct answer wins. So you got to know how PMP works, and they have what they call the Pembook of Knowledge, and you really got to understand that book, and from their perspective, the best practices of project management and how they interpret it. And most of these designations I'm talking about work that way. CIOB, you got to understand their perspective and why things are driven that way and who's writing the tests, and really sort of getting in that headspace. I would say that's a good tip with regards to how you can run your studies and that sort of thing. If you're going after a designation, is try to understand what direction or what way is this being viewed and looked at, and that can really help you to then better prepare yourself in those areas. And we'll look at that in an upcoming video a little bit more, as I'll try to recap the things that we've covered in this course, which is a lot of things from one end to the other. We started out with Learn to Learn, and now we're at certifications, right? And we did it, sort of covered everything in between in a very sort of light fashion, but definitely this ties into everything that we've been discussing. Another designation that you might consider is Certified Engineering Technologist. And again, your program in Bachelor of Technology at George Brown College are eligible to apply for this certification. And so it's another certification that is awarded to people that are acting as technologists in the field of construction. What exactly does a technologist do? Well, one of the things, some of the requirements are you have to graduate from at least a 2-year program, 2 years of work experience, completion of application work history, that you've worked in the related field, and then there's other requirements such as a report and a practice examination. These are some of the requirements that are involved. Also, getting on the actual LEED certification, if you're inclined towards making improvements, if you're really concerned about the planet and climate change and the impacts that it has, one of the areas that you might want to consider is getting a LEED AP certification, and that would give you a certification for to be able to assist expertise in the LEED rating system for a project. And most ICI projects, like that are especially government projects like college buildings, hospitals, very often go for a LEED designation, whether it's bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. And so you would have that credential, and that would be one of the things that could be a difference between getting a job and not getting a job. And often companies will even have a position called lead coordinator, where they actually coordinate on a particular project to make sure that all the points are being documented and achieved, so that that certification comes to fruition. And as far as an organization that's involved with green building processes, Canadian Green Building Council would be the association that I would look at. The other one that I'll talk about a little bit more, I don't think I'll do it so much in this lecture, but maybe I'll bring it up in our closing lecture, is Certificate of Management Lean, CM Lean, which is through the Association of, the Associated General Contractors of America, and they have a certification in Lean. And Lean, much like LEED, has a whole organization behind it and organizational processes. And so this is actually becoming a much bigger area in construction. It's still kind of in its infancy, I would say, so it's growing, but it can't do any harm, this one. It's not as difficult as, say, a PMP to achieve, but you still have to go through a pretty rigorous test. You have to take a specific area of training, which you can do online, which equates to about 7 days of training, and be able to have shown that you've worked in construction in this particular area for a period of time and be accepted, and then write the test. But it is, again, a very recognizable certificate to have. So that would be the last one that I would mention in that particular area. So you can see there's a lot of opportunities in our programs and in our certifications and associations that we can be involved in networking that can lead to opportunities and for us to participate, as I mentioned at the end of the last lecture. So again, if you didn't see lecture 10A, it's definitely worthwhile going back and making sure that you gather that information so that you have a better comprehension of, you better identify which opportunities fit me, because you can't do all of them, which ones make sense for me in my career, and then that would make the most sense that way. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover today, everybody. So Tom Stephenson signing off and wishing everybody a wonderful day. Bye for now.